Do you ever try to make sense of your emotions, but can't really figure out what they're trying to tell you or what they mean? Today, we're going to be talking about the different emotions that you can have and how you can start to decode them to try to understand what your emotions are telling you. Hi, I'm Rhonda Brown, registered nurse, counselor, marriage and family therapist, and relationship coach. And welcome to the Art of Connection Therapy channel, where we talk about connection. Connection to God, connection to ourselves, and connection to others, so that we can begin to move toward having the kinds of relationships that we were created for. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with the first one, which is sadness. When you're feeling sadness inside and you're trying to identify, or you've identified that the emotion that you're feeling is sadness, but then you're not quite sure where to go with that. Sadness about what? What is the sadness trying to tell me? Well, one of the things that the sadness may be trying to tell you is that there is some type of loss that you feel, like something has been taken from you. Either maybe a loss of a person, a loss of a goal or a dream, a loss of a loved one, a loss of something that you thought was going to happen, some type of loss that happened to you, and that causes the emotion of sadness. Another emotion could be disappointment. Maybe you're feeling disappointed about something and it's making you feel sad, which we just talked about. But the disappointment in of itself may be telling you something. And usually when one is feeling disappointed, it's usually an indication of some type of unmet expectation. So maybe there was an expectation that your marriage would be more fulfilling than what it is, and so you're disappointed. Or maybe you're disappointed in this job that you thought that you really were going to get, this new position, and you didn't get it. So there was an expectation that maybe you would be considered, maybe that you would get the position, maybe that someone would see your efforts and how much work you've been putting in, and that expectation was not met. And so what you feel is a sense of disappointment. The next emotion we're going to talk about is the emotion of anxiety. That is one that a lot of people feel, especially nowadays with everything that's happening. And anxiety, when that happens, it's usually an indication that there's a worry about the future. And not only is there a worry about the future, but the fact that we will not be able to control whatever it is that we're thinking is going to be coming in the future. So even as I say that, you may just feel that that sense of anxiety that comes up with the unknown, and the unknown of something not necessarily good, but something bad. So that can definitely bring up a sense of anxiety within you. The fourth emotion that we want to try to decode is the emotion of fear. When you feel fear, that usually implies that you're feeling a sense of danger. Something is not right. You are in harm's way. You're not sure what to do, and so you feel a sense of fear. The fifth emotion that I want to mention is the emotion of stress. A lot of times we talk about that one too, like we're feeling stressed. I'm under a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress. Well, stress usually is an indication that maybe there's too much on your plate and you're not going to be able to accomplish whatever those things are or that thing is. So it's a sense almost that you're overwhelmed, that it's too much, and you're not going to be able to do it. So there's not a sense of confidence there. There's a sense of just too much being on your plate at one time. Along with stress, a lot of times comes pressure, where people talk about feeling pressured about something. And that's usually an indication that our performance determines whether something that's important will be a success or failure. So we feel like that weight is on us. And if we don't perform, or if we don't do it, or if it doesn't get accomplished by us, then that can lead to either a success or a failure. So there's a lot hanging in the balance. And that's what people typically mean when they feel a sense of pressure. Number 7 is anger. Anger is one that we deal with a lot, and usually anger is an indication that either a boundary has been crossed or something of value to us has not been acknowledged in a sense, and or a feeling of unfairness or injustice. Whenever there's something and we feel like it isn't fair, someone isn't treated right, either we're not treated right, or one thing is good for one group of people but not good for another group of people, then that tends to bring up a sense of anger because a boundary has been crossed or something has been unfairly done. And for number 8 and number 9, I'm going to give a distinction between the two of these, and that is jealousy and envy. And a lot of times people use them interchangeably because they're really closely related. Jealousy has more to do with you having something and a sense that what you have is about to be lost to another person. So jealousy, what makes it different from envy, is that you actually have something. Maybe you have the love of your spouse and you think your spouse is eyeing someone else. That's a fear or a sense that you're going to lose the love of your spouse to someone else. And so you become jealous of that other person. Whereas envy has more to do with wanting something, strongly wanting something that you do not have. So for example, you want to get married, right? And you want to have a successful marriage. And you see these other couples when you go to church or when you go to work or wherever you're going that appear to have successful, happy marriages, and they've been married for a long time. That is something that when you feel that emotion, it's typically envy, because it's not something that you have, but it's something that you strongly want, but someone else has it. So those are the differences between jealousy and envy. Jealousy is something that you have that you're maybe losing or feel like you're losing, where envy is something that you do not have, but you really want, but see that somebody else has it. Now, the last 3 emotions that I'm going to talk about, they're a little bit different. Just like jealousy and envy, they're used interchangeably, but mean slightly something different between the two of them. And it's the same thing with these 3. Now, that's embarrassment, shame, and guilt. So again, they're used interchangeably, but each word means something a little bit different, although they are closely connected and related to one another. So embarrassment has more to do with the feeling that you violated some type of social norm. So let's say, for example, you went out with no clothes on. You just went out completely naked. That is violating a social norm, and so you feel embarrassed about it. Or you realize that your shirt wasn't buttoned up all the way and your breast was hanging out. I don't know, or something like that. That's a social norm that has been violated, and so the emotion that you may feel inside is embarrassment. Whereas shame has to do more with feeling like you're diminished in someone else's eyes because maybe you broke some type of moral code in a sense. So for example, shame would be if you're married and you had an extramarital affair on your husband, and so you feel shame because you broke that moral code and you feel diminished in your husband's eyes, or maybe your children or other people who have found out about what happened. So that is shame versus embarrassment. Now, the last one, guilt, is when you feel responsible for something you did. So we'll use the same example again because they're all related. You had an extramarital affair and now your spouse has fallen into depression. And you feel guilty because you realize that your extramarital affair contributed to your spouse's depression, or brought your spouse into a place where they just spiraled into depression. That's guilt, that emotion that comes up. Now, one of the things I want to say about emotions is that, again, I always say on my videos that we're human beings, and as human beings, we are very, very complex. So with that saying, you may feel a mix of emotions at once. You may feel maybe a situation happens like a extramarital affair, like we've been using, and you feel embarrassed, and you feel shame, and you feel guilt all at once. And you feel anger, and you feel sadness. So you can have a mix of emotions that are happening at any given time. What are some other emotions that you feel that maybe you've been able to decode? Please list them in the comments below, and also list what you think about these definitions or trying to decode some of these emotions. Are there more things that you would add or maybe think differently about? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you found this information helpful, you can like and subscribe to this channel. You can also hit the notification bell so that you can know when I release more videos. And you can also check out my website at www.theartofconnectiontherapy.com. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again next time. And always remember that connection is an art worth mastering. Take care.